أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم. All praise is due to Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. We seek refuge in Allah from the accursed shaitan. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his prophet, his messenger, his abd, his habib. We send salutations, peace, and blessings upon Prophet Muhammad, his family, his companions, and those righteous servants who came after them all the way up until the day of judgment. Alhamdulillah, some people are celebrating their Eid. We would like to say Eid Mubarak to you all, and may Allah Ta'ala accept your fast. Some people will be celebrating the Eid tomorrow, March the 31st. And we also send send blessings and ask Allah to accept their fast as well. Alhamdulillah. Today's class, we will pick up where we left off at, and we're on dry ablution, which in the Arabic word is called Tayammum, right? Tayammum. And it is based off of a ruqsa, right? That Allah has given us when we don't have water, right? This is what Tayammum is. It's a dry ablution. So we'll go over the rules, the arcans of the Tayammum, the validators and the invalidators, and inshallah ta'ala, this will benefit the believers. So we pick up. It says, if one has a bandage or cast on a part of the body normally washed in ablution, a dressing that one could not remove without causing oneself one harm if one wipes it with water. When one comes to it in the ablution sequence, in addition to performing a complete dry ablution at that point. So what they're saying is that if you have a cast or bandage on, right, and it's on just a part of your body, maybe let's say your arm, right, and so you make wudu like normal, right, but when you get to that part, you wipe that part based off of a dry ablution. He goes on to say, and we'll describe what a dry ablution is as we go on. He goes on to say, one need not later to make up the prescribed prayer performed with such an ablution, provided that one had ablution when the bandage or cast was first applied. So there's a rule, just like there's a rule in putting the socks, right? That you have to make wudu on that part of the body. Once you put the sock on, then you can wipe the sock. So it's the same thing with the bandage or the cast, that you had made wudu before the cast or the bandage was put on. Now you can make tayammum over top of that. But if you haven't made wudu before that cast or that bandage was put over the injured area, then uh, the tayammum is not valid. And that does not cover more on the face or arms as discussed next. When someone with such a bandage on members of dry ablution, the face or the arm recovers and his cast or dressing is removed, he is obliged to make up the prayer, all the prayers he performed with such an ablution, right? So you still perform the prayer, but you are obliged to make it up after that cast or bandage comes off. And that's only in the case if you didn't make wudu on that part of the body before the cast or bandage went on. If you did make wudu before that cast or bandage went on and you made a dry ablution, then there's no makeup. The Hanafi school requires someone with an injury who wants to pray to make a complete ablution or bath or ghusl if needed. But if this would entail harm, one of the things mentioned above, then when he comes to the injury in the ablution sequence, he is merely required to wipe it with wet hands so as to cover more than half of the injury. If this would also entail harm, or if his bandage that cannot be removed without harm, or he cannot reapply the dressing by himself and has no one to help him to do so, then he simply wipes more than half of the bandage when it comes to it in his ablution. So the Hanafi, uh, Imam Abu Hanifa and his followers who follow the Hanafi school, they have a different opinion. They say that you can just wipe over the area with water, right? With wet hands. All right. So we go on, and they need not to repeat the prayer afterwards, later, provided his prayers fulfilled the Hanafi school's conditions, the integrals, the requisites, which for Shafi can be assured by performing all the Shafi recommended measures and Sunnas for the purification and prayer as though obligatory, and then checking, if possible, with the knowledgeable Hanafi to make sure one has done everything needed for the legal validity. It is not necessary that he be free of minor or even major impurities to Naba at the time of the dressing is applied. Al-Lawub fi Shar al-Kitab. This is the uh, where this evidence comes from, the book. There is a strong evidence for performing dry ablution in place of washing such an injury, to add it at a proper point of the ablution sequence as a precautionary measure would not interfere with the validity of following the Hanafi position just discussed. So you can either, if you say that you follow Imam Shafi, the opinion, you can also use the Hanafi opinion in this matter of wiping over the bandage. Menstruation may begin after the age of 9. Menstruation and postnatal bleeding. Menstruation may begin after the age of 9. The minimum menstrual period is a day and a night. The maximum is 15 days. Postnatal bleeding, nifas, lasts at least a moment and at most 60 days. If it lasts longer than the maximum, it is considered to be a chronic vaginal discharge. The minimum interval of purity between two ministrations is 15 days. There is no maximum limit to the number of days between ministration. Whenever a woman who is old enough notices her bleeding, even if pregnant, she must avoid what a woman in her period avoids. If it is cases in less than 24 hours, the minimum, then it is not considered menstruation. So if she bleeds less than 24 hours, this is not considered menstruation. So she doesn't have to follow the rules of a person or a woman that is on her menses, right? Because we know that when you're on your menses, there are certain things that women cannot do. Then it is not considered menstruation, and the woman must make up the prayers she has omitted during it. If it ceases at 24 hours within 15 days or between the two, then it is menstruation. If it exceeds 15 days, then she is a woman with abnormal vaginal bleeding. Yellow or dusky colored discharge is considered menstrual flow. Women's menstrual period is not legally considered over until she can insert a piece of white cotton in her vagina and it comes out white. If a woman has times of intermittent bleeding and sensation during an interval of 15 days or less, the, and the times of bleeding collectively amount to at least 24 hours, the entire interval bleeding and non-bleeding is considered menstrual. Chronic annulment of ablution, right? When someone uh, just keeps breaking their wudu. Chronic here means that one cannot remain without annulling ablution long enough to perform both purification and the prayer. A woman with abnormal vaginal bleeding preparing to pray must wash her private parts, apply something absorbent to them, which must be completely inserted in the vagina without anything remaining outside, and a dressing, such as an external absorbent pad, and then perform the ablution, intending authorization to perform the prayer, not lifting ritual impurity as such. She may not delay commencing her prayer after this, except for reasons of preparing to pray, such as clothing her nakedness, awaiting the call to prayer, or for a group to gather for the prayer. If she delays for other reasons, she must repeat the wudu. She is obliged to wash her private parts, apply dressing, and perform ablution directly and without interruption before each obligatory prayer. So she must do this for every prayer if she has abnormal bleeding. After the prayer time has come, though she is entitled, like those mentioned below, to perform as many non obligatory prayers as she wishes, carry and read the Quran and so on until the next prayer time comes, or till her ablution is broken for a different reason when she must renew the above measures of her ablution. So she can go about doing her Islamic duties once she makes this wudu, unless she breaks it in another matter that breaks the wudu. People unable to hold back intermittent drops of urine coming from them must take the same measure that a woman with chronic vagina discharge does. And likewise, for anyone in a state of chronic annulment of wudu, such as continually breaking wind or emitting excrement or mahdi, though washing and applying an observer dressing are only obligatory when filth exits. If a person knows that the drops of urine will not stop until the time of the next prayer comes, he takes the above measures and performs the prayer at the first of his time. Actions unlawful without ritual purity. These are the actions that are unlawful to do when you are in a state where you have to make wudu or ghusl, a state of najis or a state of hadith, right? A state of impurity. The following are unlawful for someone in a state of minor ritual impurity, hadith: to perform the prayer, to prostrate when reciting the Quran at verses of which it is sunnah to do so, to prostrate out of thanks, to circumvent the Kaaba, and to touch and carry the Quran. The proceedings are also unlawful for someone in a state of major ritual impurity, as are to recite Quran and to reign in the mosque. So uh, these are seven things, five things for if you're in minor ritual impurity, and then there's seven things if you're in a major ritual impurity. During menstruation and postnatal bleeding, all of the above are unlawful, as well as to take sexual enjoyment from what is between the navel and knees until the ghusl is performed, or to fast until menstruation or postnatal bleeding ceases. The obligatory fast days she misses, she must be made up through though not the missed prayers. So for the woman on her misses, if she's fasting, she cannot fast, and she has to make those days up. But the prayer she doesn't have to make up. And enjoying sexual relations with your spouse uh, when you're in on your misses, you cannot do that. Okay, so uh, I missed the whole section on dry evolution. Okay, so now let's explain dry evolution, right? Real quick. When unable to use water, dry evolution is a disposition to perform the prayer or similar of worship requiring ablution without lifting one's minor or major impurity by the use of earth for one's ablution. The condition for the legal validity of performing dry ablution are that one lack water or fear to use it, fear including both from thirst, of one own thirst, or the companions, or your companions' animals with one, even if it's in the future, and from illness, an ailment from which one fears that performing a normal ablution of wudu or preparatory bath or ghusl will cause harm to the life or limb disability, becoming seriously ill an increase in one's ailment, a delay in recovering from one's illness, considerable pain, or bad effect from water, such as a radical change in one's skin color or visible part of the body. One owns one owns previous experience may be sufficient to establish the probability of one of these will occur in a full ablution or a bath is performed, or one may depend on a physician whose information is concerning it is acceptable, meaning one with skill in medicine, whose word one believes in, even if he's not Muslim. So tayammum, to be able to use the earth, right, to make wudu, you have to be absent of water, right, for one thing. Then you have to be in some type of harm if you're going to use the water, right? Meaning die of thirst, or your animals may die of thirst if you're farming, if you use the water all up, things like that. And if you have some type of ailment that may cause, where the water may cause greater harm. That the dry ablution take place after the beginning of the prayer's time, right? So you cannot perform tayammum before the prayer time. You have to perform the tayammum before after the prayer time comes in. That if lacking water, one search for some before performing dry ablution. So before you are able to perform dry ablution, you have to make sure water is absent. So you actually have to go try to find water. And when one is sure there is none, one performs the dry ablution without searching for it. And that one use earth, plain purifying earth that contains dust, even the dust contained in sand, though not pure sand devoid of dust, right? So we have to use the earth, dirt, right, that contains dust. And you can use sand as long as the sand has dust. But pure sand you cannot use because it doesn't have dust. All right. The integrals of dry evolution, the arcans, the things that you have to do. That one, make the intention. So first you have to make the intention to perform uh, tayammum, right? When one first strikes the earth, and it must continue until one wipes part of the face for authorization to perform the obligation of prayer, or that which one requires dry evolution. So the intention should be that I'm making dry evolution to perform my salat. B, that the dry ablution be performed by striking the earth twice, once for wiping the face and the second time for wiping the arms. So the tayammum is just wiping the face and wiping the arms right and left. That one's hands or anything else, such as a handkerchief, convey the earth up to the face and arms after having shaken the excess dust off one's hands. D and E, to wipe all the face, not missing under the nose and the hands and arms up to including the elbow, and to do the above in order mentioned, right? So wipe, strike the earth twice, wipe your face, then wipe your arms all the way up to the elbows, right arm to left arm, and you have to do it in that order. And these are the articans of the wudu, of the tayammum. The sunnahs of the dry ablution are to begin with Bismillah, the Bismillah. Bismillah Rahman Rahim, right? To start in the name of Allah. To write to wipe the right arm before the left. To wipe the arms immediately after striking the earth after wiping the face without pause between them. And for wiping the arms, holding the palms up to the place of the left to crosswise under the right, with the left hand's fingers touching the backs of the fingers on the right hand, sliding the left hand up to the right wrist. One slides the left hand to the right elbow, then turns the left palm so that it rests on top of the right forearm with the thumbs pointed away from one before sliding it back down the wrist, where one wipes the back of the right thumb and inside the left thumb. One then wipes the left arm. One then wipes the left arm and same in the same manner, followed by interlacing the fingers, rubbing the palms together, and then dusting the hands off lightly. Dry ablution is nullified. What nullifies your tayammum? The occurrence of ritual impurity, whether minor or major, right? So, a minor or major ritual impurity, the occurrence of it invalidates the tayammum, which you have to make another tayammum. The appearance of water when one is not in prayer. This belief that one can now obtain water also nullifies dry ablution when it occurs during one's prayer. If the prayer of one, which must be later made up, like that of someone at home who performs dry ablution for the lack of water. Because if one performs dry ablution in a place where water is generally available during the whole year, it is obligatory to make up one's prayer in the view of the fact that the dry ablution has performed in a rare excuse. So, say for instance, you at home, you know you have water, but the water is off. You make tayammum, right? So once you make tayammum, but the water comes back on, then you have to make up that miss make up that salat that you made with the tayammum by using water, right? Because now water is found, and it is found in a place that water is usually there, right? While if one has performed in a place where water is seldom available during the prayer, it is not obligatory to make it up. One's prayer, as when one performs dry ablution in the desert. But if not, those prayers that must be made up later, such as that of a desert traveler who has performed dry revolution, then the belief that one can now obtain water when it occurs during the prayer does not nullify one's dry revolution, and one finishes the prayer, which is adequate, though it is recommended to interrupt it in order to begin again after one has performed ablution. So if you're praying and then there's water, it is best and recommended, mustahab, that you end your salat and then you go ahead and use the water and then perform your salat. One must perform one's dry ablution for each prescribed prayer, though one may perform any number of non-obligatory prayers or funeral prayers. So for every fard prayer, you have to make the tayammum if you're going to be doing tayammum. So, alhamdulillah, I know this class went a little bit longer. We like to try to stop at the 15-minute mark. We're a little bit over by 7 minutes. But may Allah Ta'ala accept our efforts to teach the religion. And may Allah Ta'ala accept your efforts to learn the religion. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.